Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be slightly different for me because I'm going to do a separate TBR style video looking at some of the books that I might be reading in April. Now normally I'll do this together with my wrap up of the previous month, but the month isn't over yet and I refuse to wrap up my month before the month is complete. So you can find out what I read in March in a few days time at the start of April. In the meantime, let's go and look ahead at what's in store. So yep, I've got 14 books that are in the mix for April's reading. Will I read them all? No. Will I read something not on that list? Probably. Will I have a good month regardless? Absolutely so. So in April, I'm going to be taking part in a readathon. I haven't done one of these for a while, and I haven't seen something that's really taken my fancy with the way I do my reading anyway. But then I came across Realm of the Readathon, or Realmathon for short, and it really piqued my interest. So I'm not going to go into this in a great amount of detail because I'll link an introduction video to Realmathon in the description box below, but essentially this is something that has been dreamt up by Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy, and I like the look of this because as well as being good for people who set out a full TBR, it also looks like it's really good for people like me. I'm a mood reader and I cannot put together a list of all the books that I'm going to read in a month because it just doesn't work that way for me. So with this readathon there are 4 realms and you can earn points to increase your realm's score, or you can deplete the score of the 2 neighbouring realms to you. And each book you read can score points in a number of different prompts, each worth a different points value. So it's really open, it's really inclusive. Every book you read can go towards a number of different prompts. So it's less a case of trying to find a book to fit a particular prompt and more a case of just reading the books that I want to read and then seeing what prompts they fit afterwards. So I really like that. And I've set myself a kind of mood readers pot of 14 books that I want to select my April reads from, and I'll pick and choose from that as I normally would throughout the month anyway. It's just that I've got a bigger selection because specifically for the Realmathon, some of these are shorter reads, and that's something else that I'm really looking forward to because I have a series of shorter reads on my kind of want to read list, and I generally save those for in between those big chunky books that I like to read when I just need something a little bit shorter, maybe if I'm a few days before an anticipated start of a buddy read or something along those lines, because it'll just pass those few days quite nicely. So I'm going to take some of those that maybe get left to the side and I'm going to look at them this month. So rather than me just talking on, let's have a look at some of the details. So as I say, 14 books, and within that I've got 2 books which are going to complete a series for me if I get to them. One which is a continuation of a series that I've already started. 2 of these are going to be buddy reads, so they're the only kind of real commitment books that I've got for the month. 4 books in this list are from either my 2022 reading plans or my 10 self-published books that I want to read this year videos. So if I get to them, they're going to tick some of those off the list. I've then got 10 self-published books because I do love a bit of self-published fantasy, and there's 8 new authors for me to potentially try out this month. So I'm really excited for the books that I've chosen. I'm really excited for this readathon to start and to see how my reading goes, how many of these new authors I'm going to really like and how many of their books I'm going to be looking to pick up as a result of this. So let's go and have a look at the individual books. So I've broken up this reading part into 3 separate sections, as you can see from my handy image to the side. And as I said, 2 of these are going to be buddy reads. I'm reading with my friend Nina on both of these. We've been doing the Bone Chips trilogy, the Tie Child trilogy, for the last couple of months. We read The Call of the Bone Chips in March, and we're going to be continuing and finishing this series with The Bone Chips Wake in April. So I'm really looking forward to this one. We enjoyed The Bone Chips in February, but it was really heavy on the world building, lots of new terminology and things to get your head around. And then The Call of the Bone Chips in March was definitely for me a step up from that, because that world building has done and we were now seeing the benefit of it. It was a really action-packed book, and I'm really looking forward to The Bone Chips Wake because of what we had in Call of the Bone Chips and where we finished with kind of a surprise ending there, and also because I've heard so many people who've read this series raving about The Bone Chips Wake and how amazing it is and how emotionally destroyed they were after finishing it. So I'm really looking forward to reading it and seeing if I have that same kind of experience. Darkest Dusk by D.W. Ross is book 2 in the Onyxborn Chronicles. This is another book that we read in February, and then we took a month off, and we're continuing with book 2 in April. This one again, I really enjoyed book 1, Cold from the North, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we move on with this one. I've not really looked too much into the synopsis, and I'll say the same for most of these books actually. I'm going in relatively blind, although I have got the past experience of book 1 in this instance. But with this one, I know that we've got magical weapons, we've got new players coming involved, we've got vast armies and new abilities as well. So I'm really excited to see where we go with this one, and to see if it's an improvement on book 1, which was a book that I already really enjoyed. Next I've got a section which is my TBR Veterans, which is one of the individual prompts in the Realmathon, and also books from my 2022 reading goals. So first of all, to finish off a Farseer, we've got Assassin's Quest, and this is a chunky book. It's about 850 or so pages, and I don't know really where I'm going to land with the Farseer. It is one of these books, and Robin Hobb is one of these authors that everybody raves about. I'm not really sure though that it's the series for me, because I'm enjoying it, but it's definitely not reaching those heights for me. I read book 2, Royal Assassin, in March, and it pretty much landed for me exactly the same as Assassin's Apprentice, book 1 in the Farseer trilogy, where I did enjoy it, but it didn't really suck me in and make me want to immediately go out and get the next book. And all told, it was kind of enjoyable just trundling along until the last 10 or 15%, when everything seemed to happen. I felt exactly the same way with Royal Assassin, so I'm wondering what I'm going to get from Assassin's Quest. I've been told it's a bit of a different book, and the clue's in the name. There's a quest involved in this, so we're going to see a bit more of this world, I would imagine. Next is a book that's been on my want to read list for a long time, and it's one of Cassidy's favourites, which is another one of the Realmathon prompts. This is The Black Coast by Mike Brooks, and I've been looking forward to this one. I love me some dragons, and there's some dragon involvement in this one. I do know that it's going to be a bit different to what I was originally expecting when I started hearing about this book. It's not about kind of dragon armies or dragon riders taking over. It's more about different cultures coming together and living in a new kind of combined world. So I'm really excited for this one. Again, it's one that I've heard various people talking about, and I know kind of what to expect from it, and I'm not sure how I'm going to take it with regards to some of the kind of mannerisms of speech that I've been told to expect. But we'll see how it goes, and I hope that I'm going to A, get to this one, and B, enjoy it. And then the third one's a bit of a mix. It's one of my self-published books that I'm aiming to read this year anyway, but also it's one that's been on my list for quite a while, and that is The Blood of the Spear by Mark Timoney, which is a very shiny book. This one, my good friend Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads has recently done a video, which I'll link in the description box below, where he really raved about this book. He had a good time reading it, and I'm hoping that I'm going to have the same kind of experience. This one, we're dealing with a couple of brothers who are at the centre of all hell breaking loose. We've got summoners, we've got dragons, we've got ancient forgotten magic, so I'm really looking forward to this one, especially with some of the things that I've heard about it. And it's got a lovely cover that I do like a little bit more every time I see it, and I can't wait to tick this one off my list. Alright, and then moving on to some of my shorter reads, which I've deliberately picked for this month to see if I can get through a few of them and experience some new authors and some books that I've been looking forward to for a while. So the first one on the list is a prequel story to a series that's relatively new to me, but I've heard some really good things about it. And this series is a Hallow of Talons and Tears by Ginevra Mancinelli, and you can find a bit more about this book as she talks about the series herself in the first indie showcase video that I did, which I'll link in the cards up in the top corner. And the prequel story is The Empress of Beasts and Myths, which is quite a short book. It's about 270 pages, but the font is quite large on this, so I don't think it'll take too long for me to read. From what I hear, the series and this prequel book are both really good, so I'm looking forward to diving in and seeing what Ginevra Mancinelli's work is like. And this one is also a really dark series. It does come with trigger warnings, and just to give you an idea, the trigger warnings in this one says, to the sensitive readers out there, please note that content warnings include descriptive violence, frightening scenes, blood, alcohol, sex, suicide, eating disorders, incest, bestiality, rape, child abuse, mentions of miscarriages, forced abortion, and torture. in a 270 page book. So we'll see how that goes. I don't really mind. I don't generally tend to bother with trigger warnings, but they are definitely useful for some people. I just read whatever and I don't really tend to get affected by stuff. I'm very fortunate in that respect. But I'm going to see how this one goes, see how that's all integrated, and hopefully it's going to be in a good way that seems natural to the story and natural to the environment that it's happening in. And it's not just going to be gratuitous scenes in there for the shock value, but we'll find out when I get to it. Another self-published book that I've been looking to read for quite a while, so this definitely counts as one of my TBR veterans as well, is The Broken Heart of Aurelian by Alex Robbins. And he's another author that featured in that February Indie Showcase alongside Ginevra Mancinelli. So go check that out and see him talking about this book in his own words. This one, I just love the cover for it. Really went on my list initially because of that gorgeous cover, but the story does sound quite interesting as well. And again, it's somewhere just under 300 pages if I remember rightly, so this is going to be another hopefully quick read. My friend Patrick Ryan has recently read this book as part of his kind of self-published reading month in March, so I'll link his video. I'm sure he's done a video at this point and I've not just spoken to him on Discord about it, but if he has done his video and I'm not imagining it, I'll link that in the description box below so you can see his thoughts on the book and what I've got in store for me. I have two self-published short stories on the list, and the first of these is Century Blade by Rob J. Hayes. I've not read any of Rob J. Hayes' work, although I do have several of his novels on my Kindle, and I've got a gorgeous hardcover copy of Spirits of Vengeance, which is set in the same world as Century Blades. So I'm really looking forward to this quick, easy read so I can see what his writing's like and I can see what this world is like, and I can then jump into Never Die and Pawn's Gambit and Spirits of Vengeance, which are all standalone books in this Mortal Techniques world, so they don't have to be read in any particular order. But Century Blade is really short. I think it's only about 25 pages, so it's just a nice little sit down and read in one, and for some reason I haven't found myself the time to do that yet, so I'm going to take this opportunity and get it done and experience myself a new self-pub author. Then we have an author who I do know a bit more about. This is Dogs of War by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I've read quite a few of his. The 10-book series Shadows of the Apt is one of my favourite series of all time. I really enjoyed that one. I've got, as you can see here, the Echoes of the Fall trilogy, which I haven't read yet, but that's another of his fantasy series. And I've also read Spiderlight, which is a short novel of about 300 pages, which again I also enjoyed. As far as his sci-fi work goes, I've not really done so much there. I've read and enjoyed Children of Time, Children of Ruin a little bit less so, but I haven't read Shards of Earth despite having that, and Dogs of War and its follow-up Barehead are two titles that I've been looking forward to. I've heard some really good things about this one, so I'm really looking forward to trying out a bit more of Adrian's sci-fi work and seeing if I get on with this one. Another novella which is bordering on the lines of a short novel is The Exile by Ryan Cahill. With this one I've spoken about the Bound and the Broken series in various videos. I really have been enjoying Ryan's work. And The Exile follows of Darkness and Light, and it takes us to the backstory of one of the new characters introduced in that second book in the series. So we're going to follow Dane, who is one of the characters who I really enjoyed in Of Darkness and Light, and we're going to look at, I think it's 4 key events in his life that really shaped him into the person that we met in Of Darkness and Light. Now this one, I said it's a little bit of a short novel rather than a novella. It comes in at about 45,000 words, and to give you an idea, The Fall, which is the prequel novella to this series, clocks in at about 25,000 words, so it's about double the size of this one. Okay, another new author to me is G.M. White, who has written The Swordsman's Intent, which is a prequel novella, and The Swordsman's Lament. There's another book in this series as well, which I can't remember if it's a new release or it's yet to be released, but I like the look of these. I first saw these a couple of weeks ago on Twitter when the author revealed his new artwork for book 1, and he subsequently released matching artwork for book 2 and for the prequel novella. So I really like the sound of these. From what I'm told, it's a story in the same kind of vein as The Greatcoats by Sebastian de Castell, which I really had a good time with last year. So I'm looking forward to this one and seeing if it is anywhere near as good. but I'm not going to be comparing it to Greatcoats in terms of what I'm expecting. It's just that it's a book with some kind of similar themes and settings. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Again, they're nice short reads. Cassidy has recently read The Swordsman's Lament and she absolutely loved it. And I was talking to the author on Twitter actually in response to one of his tweets, and he's very kindly sent me both the Swordsman's Intent and The Swordsman's Lament as ebook review copies. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading these amongst my shorter reads in April. The second self-published short story that I've got on the list for this month is The Dragon's Boy by M.L. Spencer, who wrote Dragon Mage, just hiding behind my head there. Dragon Mage is one of those TBR vets that's been on my shelf for nearly a year unread. I've also got the ebook on my Kindle, so I'm ready to go with this one, but it's about 800 pages and I've just not quite found the time for it as yet. But I'm hoping that I'm really going to like the Dragon's Boy, and that's going to get me even more excited for Dragon Mage, which I know is supposed to be absolutely phenomenal. Again, I'll link a video in the description box below. My friend Andrew rated this as his book of the year for 2021. He really loved it, and once more I'm hoping that I'm going to follow Andrew's taste in this one and I'm going to love it as well. But I'm going to start out with the Dragon's Boy, which I don't actually have a page count for. It's not listed, I think, on Goodreads or Amazon. But again, it's a nice short one of, I think, 50 pages or less, but I'm just plucking numbers out of the air there. So it's going to be a nice, easy, quick read that I'm definitely going to be chalking off this month. And then the final book that I've put in my pot is The Luck of the King by Tom Dumbrell. We've had a kind of running commentary between the author and myself on Twitter and Instagram where he keeps asking me, in a joking fashion, not nagging me, but he keeps asking me when am I going to read his book and suggesting that I'm not going to like it and so forth. So I'm looking forward to proving Tom wrong. I've heard some really good things about this one, and again, it's one of the books which is on my 10 self-published titles that I want to read this year. So once more, it's the opportunity to chalk off books from a couple of those different lists whilst going through the readathon. So all told, this is one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to the most because of what I've heard about it, and because it is still, I would say, a little bit underrated. But there's also a second book which is apparently really good as well, and a third book coming out at some point to complete what I believe is going to be a trilogy. So there's a couple of installments to get my teeth into if, as I'm hoping, I enjoy this one. Alright, so 14 books. As I said at the top of the video, I will not read all of them because there is quite a bit of page count. I'm not going to tot all of that up and tell you how many pages in total, but there's a lot of books here and I don't read fast enough, even with some of them being very short. I don't read fast enough to chalk all of these off in the 1 month. But I'm going to see how I go as a mood reader and pick and choose from amongst these. There's some that are definites. My two buddy reads are locked in. I will definitely be reading those. And then the short stories as well, definitely, because they're not going to take up a lot of time. Outside of that, we'll see where the flow takes me. And I'm hoping that I'm going to have a really good month because I'm actually really excited about this list that I've put together. I can see some really good times ahead. So what about you? What are you looking forward to reading in April? Have you set yourself a TBR? Are you a mood reader with a bit of a pot of books to choose from like myself? Are you doing any readathons in April or later in the year? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm always interested to hear what you guys are reading and what you're thinking of those books, and especially if they're ones that aren't on my list, because I'll look into them and see if they need to go on my lists. In the description box below this video, you're going to find several video links to the Realmathon intro video, to a couple of book reviews from Andrew and from Patrick. Go check those out and give them a like and a subscribe if you haven't already done so, to Cassidy, Andrew and Patrick. Also in there, as usual, you can find all of my social media links where you can connect with me on Goodreads, Twitter and Instagram, and the support the channel links where you can buy me a coffee or take a look at my Amazon wishlist as well. I hope you've all got a good month ahead. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, as always, take care of yourselves, read some good books. Bye for now.